Hi there, Hennepin family and friends. It's good to be with you today. As you can see, we're in a different spot. I decided that it would be great to just be outside today. You know, it's been a hard week for lots and lots of people in our community. And I thought we'd spend some time today just sort of unpacking a lot of what we've seen and what's been done. Let's start, as we always do, by lighting our candle. If you remember last week, we talked about Pentecost. And we talked about how Pentecost was when the Holy Spirit came. And I think sometimes when we light our candle and we talk about Jesus being in the dark places with us, maybe it would be good if we continue to start thinking about the Holy Spirit and the fact that the Holy Spirit is with us all the time. And sometimes that's the voice of Jesus here and now. So I'm going to light this. This is a different kind of candle. It's filled with citronella, and it's something that I use in my backyard. It has a little bit bigger flame. So as I light it, and I think about the Holy Spirit being with us, I'm also going to move it off to the side a little bit so that I don't catch myself on fire. Like I said, friends, it's been a hard week for some people. There are people that are really, really mad, and there are people that are really, really sad. There are people who made really bad choices about ruining things that didn't belong to them, and about taking things that didn't belong to them. And all of this leads us to wonder, what do we do with our really big emotions? So I thought we would take a little bit of time and revisit some of the things that we do when we have really big emotions. So that's part of why I'm outside in my backyard. Because when I'm having big emotions, I find that being surrounded by plants, and if you listen quietly, I'll stop talking. There's a little creek that goes through my backyard. And that sound of water I find very, very relaxing. So I'm going to ask you to sit down with the people that you're having Sunday school with today. Stop the video for just a minute and talk about what are the things that you do when you need to think about your big emotions or when you need to talk about them. Another one of the things that we do when we need to get in touch with our big feelings is we do practice something called mindfulness. And we've done this before. We've done something called mindful breathing. And mindful breathing is just taking the time to think about our breath and to let that breath calm us down. So I am going to encourage you to take a few minutes to do some mindful breathing with me. Now notice, I have this little tiger guy, and I'm going to call him Daniel, after Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, because we're going to talk about him in just a little bit as well. But for now, I am going to stretch out my legs really, really long and point my toes, and I'm going to take Daniel, and Daniel is going to reach all the way to my toes. And maybe he's just going to sit there for a minute. I hope Daniel likes it there. Now I'm going to sit up really straight, and I'm going to take a deep breath in. And then take a deep breath out. Can we do that one more time? Let's have a deep breath in, and then let our deep breath out. Now, if you remember when we did this before, we did some things with our hands too. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our arms and we're going to take our deep breath all the way up over our head. So we breathe really deep up, and then we're going to fold forward and breathe out. And I'm going to reach towards Daniel. And now I'm going to bring myself back up. breathing really full. And I'm going to bring my hands to the center of my body while I breathe out. So let's do that again. Let's take our arms big, deep up. And let's bend forward. And I'm going to reach towards Daniel. And then I'm going to go back up. How does that feel? Let's do it one more time together, okay? Big breath. And reach towards my friend Daniel. And back up. All right. So I hope that that was helpful for us to just take a few minutes and think about our feelings and breathe deeply. Thanks, friends, for taking some time to do some mindful breathing with me. The other thing that I do a lot when I'm trying to make sense of things that don't make a lot of sense to me is I try to find where Jesus would be in all of this. And so as I was trying this week to see where Jesus would be, I found a passage. And the passage is in Mark, chapter 12, verse 28. Now this is our big Bible because I couldn't find this in any of the children's Bibles. So I'll tell you about what it says. It says that there were some people who were listening to Jesus preach, and the people were trying to ask Jesus about, of all of the commandments, which one was the most important. And Jesus said to them that there are two commandments that are more important than any of the other commandments. The first one is to love God. And the second one is to love your neighbor as yourself. And we've heard these before, but sometimes it's just really good to remind ourselves of those things. So, one of the things that we've done by taking the time to recognize our own feelings and to do some deep breathing and to find a spot where we feel safe and comfortable with our feelings, we've done something to take care of ourselves, to love ourselves. And that's really important for us to do, because when we take care of ourselves, it makes us more ready to take care of others. Now remember I told you that I was going to pull out Daniel Tiger? Well, in Daniel Tiger's neighborhood, one of the things that he is reminded of a lot of the time is that when things seem scary in his neighborhood, he should look for the helpers. And I think that the commandment to love your neighbor and yourself as yourself reminds me that we need to look for the helpers and we need to be the helpers. And friends, I don't think that you have to be a grown-up to be a helper. In fact, I was thinking about some of the stories in the Bible where kids are actually the helpers. So I want you to pause your video and think with either a sibling or a grown-up or a friend, think about some of the places in the Bible where kids are the helpers. And then come back and we'll talk about it, okay? Welcome back. Did you think of some? I thought of 3 different places in the Bible where kids were actually big helpers. So the first one I thought about was the story of David and Goliath. Do you remember David? He was just a little guy, and he fought a great big giant, and he won. There's a picture of David and Goliath right here. There was the story of the boy that had the loaves and the fishes. And that boy shared his loaves and fishes with Jesus. And Jesus was able to feed over 5,000 people with that boy's lunch. So he was certainly a helper at that point. Now the third story might seem a little bit less like helping, but stay with me. Do you remember the story? And here's a picture of when Jesus went to the temple and he was talking with all of the priests about all of the things that he was learning about God. I like that story. And I think that it shows us that one of the important parts of being a helper is being a good learner. Because we can't be good helpers if we haven't learned about the things around us and in our world. So those are the three stories that I came up with. And if you came up with different ones, that I think is totally awesome too. So, we talked about being helpers. We talked about looking for helpers. And now I want to tell you a little bit about a way that just last week I was invited to be a helper along with my kids. So some of you know our friend Aiden and Ella and their mama Taylor. And Miss Taylor works for a school where they were handing out food for people who needed it, because we know that some of our neighborhoods in the Minneapolis area had some areas where their grocery stores and their Targets were burned down, and then people couldn't get their food. So people from all over brought tons and tons of food to Miss Taylor's school, and they needed people to help hand the food out to people who would be driving by in their cars. And so Miss Taylor invited me and my family to come, and it was awesome. And here's a picture of kind of what that looked like. But then the other thing is that the next day, Miss Taylor and her kids, Aiden and Ella, drove around with more food to people who didn't have cars and couldn't come to the food pickup line. So those are just examples in our community of how people can invite us to help and we can be the helpers. And I love that feeling. Now, I want to close our time today with a story. And it's a story that is brand new to our library at church. And it is about all of us living under something called the love umbrella. So this is a story called Under the Love Umbrella. It was written by Dorena Bell and illustrated by Allison Kolkos. Right over here, it says, if you've ever felt lonely or lost or alone, here is a book for you with love. Up in the sky amongst the stars, there's something you might not see. But over your head and just above, there's an umbrella you might be. In deepest dark, when big dogs bark or waves crash loud, is that a shark? When friends won't share and things aren't fair, there's always my love umbrella. You're feeling shy and don't know why? Forgot your hat and want to cry? Remember, I am standing by because of our love umbrella. When everything is strange and new, on days when you need super glue, there's so much room here just for you under my love umbrella. Bad dream, lost tooth, smashed toy, big worry, your pants are wet, you're meant to hurry. It disappears in a big old flurry under the love umbrella. Whatever you fear, come close, my dear. You're tucked in safe, we're always here, and I will never not be near, under our love umbrella. In every weather, it's us together. My love for you goes on forever. Be still, breathe deep, wherever you sleep, you're under my love umbrella. Up in the sky, amongst the stars, there's something you might not see, but over your head and just above, there's an umbrella of my love to show it's you I'm thinking of, wherever you might be. Who's under your love umbrella? So, friends, what we get to remember is that even when the world around us is really weird and scary, you are tucked into all sorts of love with your church family, with your own family, with the helpers that are all around us. Let's pray. Holy God, nowhere in the Bible did you ever say that things would always be easy, but you did say that you would always be with us. Thank you for the helpers, the ones that we know, and the ones that we see but don't actually know. Thank you that you also teach us that we too can be helpers. In your holy name we pray. Amen. I love you all. We'll see you soon, okay? Bye-bye.